I never believed in evil, not truly, not until I spent the longest, strangest night of my life locked in the Warren Occult Museum. My name is Tony Spera. I inherited this place and the responsibility of keeping the world safe from what's kept here, after the deaths of my famous in-laws, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Even after all my years as a self-styled skeptic in Connecticut, that night in 2022 changed me. I agreed to stay for the annual maintenance, the one day each year when every artifact was checked, warnings dusted, prayers whispered in whatever faded hope that would keep the darkness contained. But my real job that night was Annabelle, not the demonic porcelain thing Hollywood invented, but the real doll, afraid, 3-foot raggedy and with button eyes, whose stitched smile still held secrets from the 1970s. The shuttered museum pressed down on me, air thick with the scent of mold, burnt wax, cotton, and copper. I could still hear Lorraine's voice echoing from a decade ago, her gentle, trembling warning, "Don't take your eyes off her, Tony. Never let anyone touch her case." I went room to room after midnight, the only sound my own breath and the slow tick of the grandfather clock in the next hall. It was after I turned off the main lights that the feeling began, like a cold breath sliding over my arms. I checked the special display first, Annabelle in her case, the red block letters, warning, positively do not open, glaring under my flashlight's thin beam. A visitor once asked if I was scared working here alone. I always laughed, but secretly I remembered all the stories about what had happened to those who mocked her. One biker, 1975, taunted her, rapped on the plexiglass and left laughing, only to die in a motorcycle crash with his girlfriend hours later. She survived, telling terrified reporters the story within days. I moved about, checking locks, making a mental note to ask the priest in the morning to sprinkle more holy water, though by habit alone I never knelt in the artifact room. My steps felt muffled, the wood beneath the soles of my shoes both warped and sticky, and every now and then cotton candy dust rose like the memory of a fairground, wrong in this macabre shrine. Annabelle's case was fogged with my breath now, a thin halo etched in the glass around her head, her yarn hair made dull by the years, her smile always turned just so. I brushed away a film of dust, and my skin tingled at the contact. I heard a long, slow scrape behind me. When I spun, nothing was there. When Donna, a nurse from Hartford, first brought Annabelle to Ed and Lorraine in 1970, she looked ordinary enough. Donna and her roommate Angie loved antiques, loved a good story. But soon the notes started appearing, childlike scribbles on parchment they didn't own. "Help us, help Lou." Lou, Angie's boyfriend, began having nightmares, waking up with phantom scratches on his chest. Angie found Annabelle seated, waiting for her on her bed one evening. The door had been locked, the window jammed tight against a November storm. The girls brought in a medium. She said the doll was haunted by a 6-year-old named Annabelle Higgins who died tragically on the site decades before. They thought this was sad, saw a child in need rather than a warning. But when Annabelle's actions turned violent, when Lou was nearly strangled in his sleep, the Warrens were finally called. Ed always said, "Don't trust the spirits that claim innocence, especially with children's faces." Lorianne said it best, "It's not a ghost. It's something that wears the shape of a child, for sympathy. It wants an invitation inside you." She told me that many times when she was alive, and the priests who came for the exorcism in '70 said the same. The thing that lived in Annabelle wasn't human at all. On my midnight rounds, I tried not to look at the doll as I swept my flashlight from artifact to artifact, the satanic idol, the shadow doll, the torn painting allegedly once hung in the Amityville house, yet I always felt the sense of eyes on my back. That night, a sticky residue on my palm, left from the inside of the woodwork of the case, seemed to pulse with its own faint warmth even after I wiped it on my jeans. I settled in the corner office, reviewing security footage. The monitor's glare sickened the room with blue light. At 1:07, I saw what looked like a flicker of movement in the reflection of Annabelle's case on the glass opposite, but when I zoomed in, the doll hadn't moved an inch. The clock ticked on. The cold grew sharper, the air feeling suddenly thick, almost greasy on my skin. My breathing sounded too loud, and silence pressed like a heavy hand against my chest. Somewhere between waking and sleep I heard it, the flutter and shush of cloth, out of place. A whisper, not in my ears, but inside my head, don't turn around. My stomach twisted. I did what I always told myself I never would, I turned. Annabelle's head was now angled farther left than before, her black, bored-in button eyes reflecting a little glint of red exit sign. Nothing else. Except on the floor, a slip of yellowing parchment that hadn't been there before, help us. I reached down to pick it up, and a wind cut through the dead-still air of the museum, slamming the office door behind me. The cold doubled, my breath came out like smoke. The alarm on my phone flashed, motion detected, Great Hall. For the first time in years my hands truly shook. I staggered across the floor, passing artifacts, all cold as stone to the touch, making my way to Annabelle's case. The air prickled, electric. I placed my palm against the glass and heard the faintest giggle, high and genderless, as if water boiled and hissed at the same time, but with words I couldn't quite make out. Something flickered again, a loose string, unraveling from Annabelle's arm, twitching in a draft I couldn't feel. Behind me, something moved at eye level, a shadow blotting out candlelight that should have been steady, the flame bending instantly in fearful salute. My hand ached, cold, with a pain that went deep to my bones. I snatched it away and shook it, stumbling back. Somewhere beyond the walls, I remembered, was Daniel Rivera, a fellow investigator, who built a reinforced new case for Annabelle in 2021, after the tour for the Devils on the Run brought the doll on the road amid an odd rash of disturbances across every city, especially New Orleans, in the fall of 2025, electrical failures, unexplained car accidents, even a local jailbreak. I reached once more for my walkie-talkie and heard nothing but static, interrupted suddenly by a metallic crash, a visitor's helmet, dropped on a tour from the glass enclosure earlier that summer. It had rolled across the room by itself, coming to rest beneath the "Positively do not open" sign. I remembered, with sick clarity, how one guest in 2015 had ignored every warning, banged twice on the glass, took a selfie, and was dead by dawn, his partner's words, "Don't touch her. Don't laugh," cycling obsessively in my mind. At 3 a.m. the temperature dipped further, frost feathered the insides of the display box. The carpet felt soft beneath my feet, as if I'd stepped into the distant memory of a grave. From the glass, the doll's head twitched again, a barely audible click, the sound of pulling thread through skin. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, "Help me, Lou." All at once I was in the story I'd retold 100 times. I ran back to the office, tried to call for help, and my voice came back at me over the intercom, "Don't let her out." For a moment, I saw myself in the reflective black of her button eyes, smaller than I remembered, fixed and certain. I went to the case and pressed prayers against the glass, recited every circle of Latin I half remembered from youth, watched my breath haze and dissipate. The string from Annabelle's arm twisted further. I blinked, and she'd shifted. Only an inch, but now one foot touched the glass itself. I smelled burnt wax, a sudden whiff of flowers, and behind me, unmistakable, bare feet padding across the wood. A soft child's voice, "It's cold in here." I would like to say the night ended with sunrise. But in truth, when the staff opened the doors at 8 a.m., I was standing in the center of the main hall, holding a burned piece of parchment, "Help us," written in waxy child scrawl. I don't remember opening the case, but I remember one thing with clarity. For a heartbeat, the doll's face was not her own, but something older, hungrier, so twisted with loss and malice that every insincere smile I'd ever worn came echoing back at me in terror. They call me a caretaker, even an expert. But the truth is, I'll never lock that door the same way. And if you ever visit the Warren Occult Museum, remember just one thing: Annabelle is not a child's plaything. She's not porcelain, nor stuffed with sawdust and cotton. She's a door. And every door hungers for what's on the other side. Touch the glass, mock what you do not understand, and you may find her already waiting for you at home.